Welcome to Trump Wire, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. In August 2025, President Trump shocked the world by slapping a massive 50% tariff on Indian goods entering the US. The announcement came seemingly out of nowhere, catching both allies and adversaries off guard. Overnight, the rules of global trade were rewritten, and the world's largest democracy found itself in the crosshairs of America's new economic strategy. This wasn't a minor tweak, it was an economic earthquake, sending a clear message that the old rules were over. Markets tumbled, investors scrambled, and economists everywhere tried to make sense of the sudden upheaval. The shockwaves rippled far beyond Wall Street, shaking confidence in the stability of international trade. The move hit not just governments, but workers and businesses across both countries. Indian exporters faced canceled orders and mounting losses, while American companies braced for higher costs and supply chain chaos. Families on both sides of the ocean worried about their futures as uncertainty loomed. Supporters called it a bold America first step, claiming it would finally level the playing field. They argued that for too long, American workers had been undercut by cheap imports, and this was the tough action needed to bring jobs back home. Critics, however, warned it could unravel decades of US-India partnership and push India toward America's rivals. They feared the move would damage trust, disrupt vital cooperation, and open the door for China and Russia to strengthen their ties with India. For India, the tariff was more than a policy. It was a punch to the gut, threatening jobs and national pride. Protests erupted in major cities and business leaders pleaded for relief as factories slowed and layoffs mounted. In the US, the decision split opinion. Some cheered, others feared a costly trade war. Debates raged on cable news and in Congress, with many questioning whether the benefits would outweigh the risks. The stakes were enormous. Would this gamble force India to the table, or would it backfire and isolate America? Every move was scrutinized as both sides weighed their next steps in a high-stakes game of economic brinkmanship. The world watched, wondering if this was tough negotiation or a dangerous miscalculation. Allies questioned America's reliability, while rivals sensed an opportunity to reshape alliances. The Trump administration had drawn a line in the sand, but at what cost? The answer would have consequences not just for the US and India, but for the entire global order. Would this move strengthen America's hand, or open the door for China and Russia to step in? The balance of power was shifting, and the world's eyes were fixed on what would happen next. The answer would shape the future of global power, setting the stage for a new era of competition, cooperation, or conflict. So why did Trump decide to go nuclear on tariffs at this particular moment? What made this the tipping point, after years of simmering tensions and tough talk? Officially, the White House pointed to two main reasons. India's ongoing purchase of discounted Russian oil, which was seen as undermining US sanctions, and the persistent deadlock in trade negotiations that had dragged on for years without meaningful progress. From Washington's perspective, India was dragging its feet, refusing to make the kind of real concessions the US demanded. The frustration was mounting on both sides. The tariff was a blunt instrument, an unmistakable signal. Either India would bend to US pressure, or it would pay the price at the border. But as with so much in this administration, there was more going on beneath the surface than just policy. Just months earlier, Trump had claimed to have mediated a crisis between India and Pakistan, stepping in as a would-be peacemaker. But Prime Minister Modi refused to give him the public credit he craved. For Trump, that lack of gratitude was more than a diplomatic slight, it was personal, and it stung deeply. According to insiders, this personal affront transformed what could have been a tough negotiation into outright retaliation, with Trump determined to send a message. The message was clear: if you won't praise me, you'll pay at the border. It was a warning and a challenge. The tariff wasn't just about trade policy, it was about respect, leverage, and above all, ego. It was a power play on the world stage. In this administration, the lines between foreign policy and personal politics were blurred, sometimes indistinguishable. India was left reeling, forced to respond to a challenge that was as much about national pride and political theater as it was about economics or trade. The world watched as diplomacy turned personal, and saw just how quickly global politics could become explosive when egos are on the line. India's response was immediate and fierce, echoing through every corner of the nation. Outrage swept the country, boycotts of American products, viral hashtags, and a surge of national pride. Social media platforms buzzed with calls for self-reliance, and local businesses saw a sudden boost as citizens rallied behind the idea of supporting homegrown brands. The government and media framed the tariff as economic aggression, a betrayal by a supposed partner. Headlines questioned the future of the partnership, and talk shows debated India's next move. But India didn't just protest, it pivoted. Behind closed doors, leaders strategized, determined not to let the setback define the nation's trajectory. Prime Minister Modi announced a high-profile visit to China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, his first in 7 years. The move was more than symbolic, it was a signal to the world that India was ready to explore new alliances. This was a calculated move. If the US pushes us away, we'll find new friends. India's foreign policy was entering a new era, one defined by assertiveness and adaptability. By engaging with China and Russia, India signaled it had options beyond Washington. Trilateral talks hinted at a shifting balance of power in the region. The message was clear: India is not a pawn, but a power in its own right. The world was reminded of India's growing economic and military clout. The world took notice. India was ready to play hardball on the global stage. Analysts speculated about the ripple effects on global trade and security. The US risked losing more than just a trade partner, it risked losing a key ally. The diplomatic chill was palpable, and questions loomed about the future of cooperation. India's diplomatic shift was a warning: treat us as equals, or watch us walk. The world was watching, and so was Washington. The stakes had just gone global. Every move now had consequences far beyond the subcontinent. The US-India relationship was now a test of strength, strategy, and pride. Both sides weighed their options, knowing the outcome could reshape the world order. The next moves would reshape alliances across Asia, setting the stage for a new era in global diplomacy. The Tianjin summit became a global spectacle. Modi, Xi, and Putin stood together, smiling for the cameras, a powerful image of unity. For Washington, it was a wake-up call. India, China, and Russia were now publicly aligned. The summit's message was unmistakable. America's aggressive tactics could drive its partners into the arms of its rivals. Xi called for friendship, Modi spoke of special partnerships, and both sides agreed to ease border tensions. India was showing strategic autonomy, refusing to be boxed in by US pressure. The world saw a new balance of power emerging, with India at the center. The US risked losing its swing state in Asia. The cost of high tariffs was no longer just economic, it was geopolitical. Modi's move was a masterclass in leverage. The message: India can and will choose its own path. The images from Tianjin rattled the White House. For years, US strategy hinged on pulling India closer to counter China. Now, Trump's tariff risked pushing India away, weakening the Quad and shifting the Indo-Pacific balance. American businesses faced losing access to India's vast market, while India eyed new partners. The trade war's costs were mounting, and the benefits looked uncertain. Trump's team began to question: was this tough stance worth losing a key ally? India's pivot was logical, a response to pressure, not betrayal. The risk America's show of strength could become a strategic blunder. In global politics, pushing too hard can mean losing your most valuable partners. Despite the public show of unity, India and China's partnership is uneasy. Their border remains tense, with deep mistrust and recent deadly clashes. China's support for Pakistan is a constant thorn for India. This friendship is tactical, not heartfelt, a marriage of convenience to gain leverage with the US. For China, peeling India away from America is a strategic win. For India, it's about showing Washington it can't be taken for granted, but neither side is ready for a true alliance. India can't easily replace US trade, and China won't abandon Pakistan. This is a temporary partnership, born of frustration, not trust. The dragon and the elephant may stand together for now, but old rivalries are never far away. The US-India standoff is a lesson in how quickly alliances can unravel. Tariffs and threats have led to anger, boycotts, and risky new partnerships. Both sides are losing: American businesses, Indian workers, and the global order itself. The only way forward is dialogue, not escalation. A potential Trump-Modi meeting at the UN could reset the relationship, if both leaders are willing to listen. The US and India share more than divides them: democracy, security, and a vision for a stable Indo-Pacific. Letting a trade dispute destroy decades of partnership would be a historic mistake. This crisis is a wake-up call. Allies need respect, not ultimatums. India has shown its strength. America must show its wisdom. The best outcome? A stronger, more balanced partnership, if both sides learn from this moment. Cooperation is harder than conflict, but it's the only path to a shared future. The world is watching to see if these two giants can build a bridge, not a wall.